We're behind. They're all fired up. What we got to do? First place, our defense has got to go out there and take the ball. And when we get the ball, we got to have 11 people that's going to do their job and try to score every time you get the football. If we do that, we'll be all right. Do that, we'll be all right.
Happy Monday, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Football University with me, Matt Caddell, where we talk just about anything, everything regarding football. We've got a lot to discuss. Please tune in. Get in that comment section. We're going to get it started. Got some breaking news coming in, portal. We're going to discuss Alabama football team, the draft, Coach Saban, Kalen DeBoer. We've got a long slate. I'm talking about it's going to be a pretty heavy slate for the show. So everybody tune in. Let's get to the comment section. Lori Caddell says, roll tide and rise up. Oh, yes. We're going to discuss those Falcons, all them Falcons fans out there. We're going to discuss you all, what y'all did on draft day. Jeff Stapleton says, what's up, Matt? Stallions 5-0. Yeah, roll tide. Yeah, they are Stallions looking to three-peat, hopefully, in the UFL. Yeah, they're crushing it. So kudos to the Stallions. Lucian says, roll daggum tide. Roll daggum tide. We're going to get into it. Ms. Reese says, hey, what's going on, Reese? How are you doing? Listen, we got a packed house. Listen, Reese, we're going to talk about your Eagles. Fly, Eagles, fly. I know how those Eagles fans up there in Georgia, I know they're everywhere. So, guys, like I said, we got a huge slate. Thanks for getting in the comments, RTR, Reese, McDuffie. Listen, we got a whole slate. I mentioned we're going to discuss Alabama, the draft, Saban, DeBoer, Milroe, everything. We got so much to talk about. So thank you all. Let's get to a few comments before we get it started. RTR, Lori says RTR Reese. Douglas Caddell says RTR Matt. Velma Stuttermeyer says RTR. Velma says, okay, Just Stapleton says, yes, we lost Brockemeyer to the portal, but I just came across my feed. So let's talk Alabama football real quick. Portal news. I think Peyton Woodyard, the safety out of Georgia, who we snagged from Georgia, was a freshman signing the incoming class, entered the transfer portal. So as the portal taketh, so does it give. The portal giveth and it taketh. Yeah, sorry, I got my language confused. But yeah, we signed the safety out of Charlotte, Cameron Howard. So I think that's kind of going to feel the need. Maybe the coaching staff probably already knew about, Pay Woodward, leaving. So to me, that just shows that guys, Alabama guys, Drake Kirkpatrick Jr., who who else is doing really, really good job? Red Morgan, obviously Malachi Moore, all those guys are in the sync. So Keon Sabb, I think we're good on the portal regarding that. So I think that puts us right at 85 scholarships. So we're good. That's what I'm excited about. So guys, let's start. Let's talk. Let's get to this NFL draft. I have so much to talk about. And Reese says, yes, we love the Eagles. And I'm going to get about those Eagles. I'm going to get about the Falcons. I'm going to talk about your Niners, Jeff Stapleton. So let's talk about the draft first and foremost. Listen, guys, we talked about it on the show last week. Coach Saban, head coach Nick Saban, was doing his debut with College Game Day up there in Detroit, Michigan. Music, Motown, it was all about Coach Saban, the draft, College Game Day. And from what I saw, Coach Saban did rave reviews. I mean, his IQ, his acumen, his analysis, his observations, going into details regarding players' potentials, weaknesses, strengths, all that good stuff. Coach Saban had it on display, and he looked very, very good, comfortable. You can just see the excitement. It was some I'm not gonna say it was some very charismatic, unique moments on the show. And when Terry Arnold got drafted, Milrose says, "Hey, Coach, how you doing?" Coach Saban got the big laugh from the Game Day crew. Laura Rutledge interviewed Milroe. Coach Saban showing excitement. I know you saw the viral hand claps of Coach Saban when Jermaine Burton got drafted. So all in all, I just want to say Coach Saban did a great job. Gonna miss him, but kudos to Coach Saban. I think since Coach Saban, I think there will never be a run like Coach Saban's dynasty at University of Alabama. I think he had every draft player position drafted when Will Riker went to the Minnesota Vikings. So he's had every position drafted: long snapper, kicker, every wide receiver, defensive tackle, defensive end, linebackers. He's all had guys drafted. So kudos to Coach Saban and what he did. But yeah, not only did Coach Saban, I thought, win the night, I thought Alabama as a whole won the night, especially, and I'm going to set it up like this. I thought Alabama won as a whole as the night went on, especially in the first round at Thursday night. We had 3 picks going in the first round, starting at pick number 6. I said Latham was probably going, and you heard me on the show last week. I said Latham probably is going to go, 18 in Cincinnati, things like that. I was way off. Latham was the number 2 lineman to come off the board right behind Joe Alt as he went to the Los Angeles Chargers. So I was kind of hearing as we got closer to the draft that he had a fantastic visit with the Tennessee Titans up there. They got Will Levis, so they're looking for a lot of protection regarding that pick. And so shouts out to J.C. Latham being the number 6 pick, the first one off the board. I actually had it pegged that Terrion Arnold was going to be the first player off. No, Dallas Turner was going to be the first player off the board. But J.C. Latham is going to the Tennessee Titans. And so, listen, that's going to be a good spot for him. He plays right tackle. But I heard Coach Callahan, the offensive line coach, likes to move guys to the left, have them be able to play left and right. So kudos to J.C. Latham. So J.C. Latham went first. Now, what was so unique about this draft, your first 14 picks was all offense. Not one defensive player went drafted to the pick 15, which I thought Dallas Turner was going to be the first edge rush defensive player off the board. It was actually Latu Lada from UCLA. He went number 15 to the Seahawks. And 2 picks after that, the Minnesota Vikings traded up for Dallas Turner, which I thought was a really good move for Dallas Turner to go into that crazy NFC North Division up there. Listen, you got Minnesota, Chicago, Detroit, as well as Green Bay in that division. So that's going to be a crazy addition. The Minnesota Vikings traded up earlier to get a quarterback, J.J. McCarthy. Me personally, I thought McCarthy, I had Bo Nix ranked ahead of J.J. McCarthy, but, maybe they saw some things that I didn't see, but, it is what it is. But yeah, so let's get to it. Let's stop right there. Let's get to a few comments real quick before I move on. That's right, the faithful, baby. Can't wait to college game day. Saban rules. Yeah, Coach Saban looked very comfortable as it went on, progressed doing college game day. Bobby Caddell says RTR. Jeff Saban says today 126 NFL players, Saban's tenure, most have been in college football team. Yeah, I think there's no run like Coach Saban when it comes to college football. Before Saban, I thought, the Pete Carroll era at USC, the Heisman Trophy, the national championship, I thought that era was going to be second to none. I remember back in the day, the Miami era. So, it just continues to go to new heights. But Coach Saban's era is hard to come by, in my opinion. So, the draft was very, very, very unique. Let's see. So, like I said, Dallas Turner. So J.C. Latham goes 7. Dallas Turner was the second defensive player off the board for the Minnesota Vikings. So that was, shocking, to say the least, for me. I just knew it was going to be more defensive players taken, but this is the age that we live in. Coach Saban mentioned that, hey, maybe this was the reason he retired, because no defensive players were coming off the board. But I just think that's just the nature of the draft. I think next year you have more defensive guys coming off the board early, but it's just how it is. When you have 5 to 6 potential quarterbacks, we know the NFL is all the quarterbacks-driven league, an offensive-driven league. There's potential that you have a run on quarterbacks as well as offensive linemen. So 3 receivers went off the board. First, obviously Caleb Williams, number 1 pick, coming off the board. I thought Chicago, what they did a lot of good moves. They were able not only to get Caleb Williams, but Romeo Oduzier. Speaking of Romeo Oduzier, not only did Saban have a great draft, Kalen DeBoer had an amazing draft. I think that just shows you we made the right choice regarding the next coach to come after Coach Saban. Kalen DeBoer had, 3 first-round picks. I think he had 7 in the 3rd round. Coach Saban, within the first 3 rounds, Coach Saban and Alabama had 6. So Kalen DeBoer showing that he knows how to evaluate talent, bring in talent, and develop talent, where NFL teams want to come and play for Kalen DeBoer. And I thought that was just a good look for not only us, Alabama, but for Kalen DeBoer. I think that just confirmed that we made the right decision regarding Kalen DeBoer. Now, speaking of Kalen DeBoer, he had Michael Penix, his draft picks within the first 3 rounds. He had Michael Penix go number 8 overall to the Falcons. Now, all the Falcons fans out there, I think that was probably the biggest shocker of the night, seeing Michael Penix. I mean, right before the show, I heard Ian Rappaport, NFL Network, mention that he don't be surprised if the Atlanta Falcons are targeting a quarterback, i.e. Michael Penix. And I was like, oh, okay. Maybe that's just smoke screen season, whatever it is. But listen, that was the unique pick. Now, I'm kind of, when I saw the pick, I was like, this makes no sense. You just spent $100 million on Kirk Cousins, and you went to go get a quarterback who's not only that, 24 years old, but you went to go get him in the top 10. So, I know teams want to have competition they want to have. I know the quarterback position for the Atlanta Falcons has been shaky since Michael Vick, Matt Ryan. But listen, I mean, that's the decision they made. I want to get you all's thoughts. I don't know if I would have done it, but maybe you could have got a nice quarterback later. Maybe you could have got Michael Penix later. But reports that I've heard, teams like the Seattle Seahawks, the New Orleans Saints, who's their divisional rival, actually their biggest rival. Reports were saying they were trying to trade up for and trade up in the top 10 and target Michael Penix. So just interesting to see. I know it's mixed reviews from Falcons fans. A lot of Falcons fans don't like it. So since we're talking about Alabama, Kalen DeBoer, so we had Michael Penix go number 8, Romeo Oduzier go number 9, and he had Troy Fontenot go number 20th to the Pittsburgh Steelers. So he had 3 first rounders. Coach Saban had 3 first rounders. So I just think that just shows that Alabama's in the great hands with Kalen DeBoer and that staff. So, and, the next round, he had Polk, the receiver, go to the New England Patriots. And the offensive tackle went 6-2, 62nd overall to the Ravens. And he had another receiver go to the Bucks, pick 92. Now, I know one thing, Alabama so used to having so many first-round receivers. I think our last first-round receiver was Jamison Williams. So I think having Kalen DeBoer, Jamarcus Shepard, we're going to get back to probably getting the first-round receiver here shortly, especially with all the talent, the type of offense that we're going to have, explosive. So let's take a pause, get to the student section, the comment section. Let's see what you all are saying. Lori says, I don't agree with that pick. Listen, she's discussing the Michael Penix pick for the Atlanta Falcons. I get it, but I don't get it. I just feel like you make such a big monetary investment into Kirk Cousins, 180 million, 100 million guaranteed, then you come back. I know you probably were thinking, oh, this is a deep quarterback class this year. Maybe not so next year, but I think maybe you could have got, a solid backup, maybe in free agency or whatever. Then maybe look at a quarterback next year. Maybe look at a Milrow, maybe look at a Carson Beck, maybe look at a Shedeur Sanders, maybe next year or 2 years from now. Then you can kind of make that investment. But I'm not a GM, I'm just here on Football University, but that's what we do. We discuss it. Falcons fans, most of them don't like to pick. Some people do, but I mean, it is what it is. It was just crazy to see them make that pick at number 8. So, like I said, Alabama looked good in the draft. Regarding Alabama players. So I would say this. So let's go back to Alabama players. So J.C. Latham goes drafted number 6. Then Minnesota Vikings trade up from 23 to get Dallas Turner, number 17. So the cool pick of the head coach, Keith O'Donnell, who's like, we're getting Dallas Turner. He's like, what? At 17? So he just was shocked to see him. But I think the guy who stole the show of the night was Terrion Arnold. He not only was the draft in Detroit, but he gets drafted by the Detroit Lions at pick number 23, I believe. And, home crowd, they're just elated that they're getting Dallas Turner. And Dallas Turner basically stole the show. I mean, it's pick 24. Leading up before that, it was some teams, I was thinking I thought the Eagles was going to take possibly Terrion Arnold at 21, but they went with Quinion Mitchell. And so once the first DB went off the board, then, the other DB, and it was like 2 picks later, I believe Detroit Lions again traded up for Alabama player. And again, they get Terrion Arnold to really help in that defensive secondary. They already have Brian Branch. Listen, that secondary is going to be nasty with Terrion Arnold. But Terrion Arnold gets drafted. Kaylee Hartung used to work for the SEC Networks, now working for NFL Network. She interviews him and says, "Hey, how does it feel to be drafted by the Detroit Lions?" And he's like, "Listen, I'm gonna do everything I can to help them win a Super Bowl." And then he turns around and just feeding off the energy of the Detroit Lion fans, and he basically took the mic, stole the show. I mean, Terry Arnold has a personality like no other. I think he's the most intriguing prospect as far as personality that people from the media want to meet. And he's going to an amazing situation with the Detroit Lions. And I said, listen, Brad Holmes, he did an interview saying, listen, for the past 3 years, he has got Bama after Bama player after Bama player after Bama player. To me, that just shows you what type of players the Alabama produced. You look at last year, first round pick, he got Jahmyr Gibbs. Jahmyr Gibbs was amazing, for the Detroit Lions. And he got Brian Branch in the second round. So last year, Brian Branch could have been up for, NFL Defensive Rookie of the Year. We know it went to Will Anderson. But then the year before that, he got Jameson Williams. So it's been Bama after Bama after Bama. And then this year, currently, he got Terry Arnold. So shouts out to Terry Arnold. He did proud of him getting drafted by the Lions. And so then, after that pick, I was like, man, where is Kool-Aid going to go? I was hoping Kool-Aid was going to sneak in for a couple of picks. And then pick 25 goes off, pick 24. 25, 26, Baltimore Ravens at 30. I thought that would have been an amazing fit for Kool-Aid, but they went with Nate Wiggins, which, it is what it is. Me personally, I would have went with Kool-Aid. Just looking at the production, looking at the style of defense that Baltimore is going to want to play, looking in that tough division, you got to go against guys like Amari Cooper, Jerry Jeudy. You got to be able to play press man, off man. You got to be able to do a lot of that. And, at the end of the day, it's about technique, especially at the cornerback position. You got to be able to be kind of savvy. And I feel like Kool-Aid McKinstry has that elite level playing pure cornerback lockdown skills, which I thought would have been a great fit for him at Baltimore. But Baltimore went with Nate Wiggins and DB out of Clemson. Then you were thinking maybe the Chiefs or whatnot. The Chiefs trade up and got Xavier Worthy. I don't know how you let that happen. But then the 49ers. So I was like, the 49ers, they could use a cornerback, but they go with Ricky Parcell, the talented receiver out of Florida who transferred in from Arizona State. So we get to day 2. We still got Kool-Aid on the board, Chris Braswell on the board. And so the first few picks go out. Listen, the Philadelphia Eagles, fly, Eagles, fly. They got another cornerback in Cooper DeJean, the talented quarterback, defensive back, per return specialist out of Iowa, which I think I think that's a good fit for him. But over Kool-Aid, I don't know. I feel like Kool-Aid's, I don't know. I feel like you put Kool-Aid in the Big Ten, I think he's going to have even more better numbers. But that's neither here nor there. Either way, I think it's a good fit. But Kool-Aid getting drafted by the New Orleans Saints at pick 41. I thought the Saints had a really good draft. Listen, who that nation? You got Kool-Aid. That's a really good pick in my opinion. So I'm going to take a pause right there because the comment section is going crazy. Let's get to some of your comments. Everybody's still talking about the Michael Penix. Says, yeah, I was surprised to see ATL take a quarterback, spending $100 million on Cousins. Lord says, I think the Falcons made a mistake, but I hope they prove me wrong. I don't understand it, but we'll see. Yeah, I get it. It's definitely insurance. Yeah, it's definitely insurance, as LaShawn says. Giving Kirk Cousins that much money coming off a Achilles injury, that it was wild to me in the first place. So him offering him $100 million coming off an Achilles injury, then going to get another quarterback, I just don't know. A lot of that stuff just seems like, listen, it's just off the cusp. So I don't know how long that GM is going to be in place. To your point, Lori, I hope it works out too. But let's see what LaShawn says. If Cousins goes down, we'll let you know. Kids ourselves probably going to having a mature, high octane field distributor that can grasp the offensive concepts. Now, yeah, I heard it was amazing, Michael Penix, and maybe that Achilles injury had something to do with it. Maybe he's not haven't recovered 100%. Or he's going to be ready for rookie camp. I mean, not rookie camp, but OTAs, mini camp, all those things. Will Cousins be able to be ready? So, it is what it is. Only time will tell from maybe a couple of years from now. So, to your point, if Cousins goes down with another injury, then they look like a great hire. But Michael Penix, everybody's trying to compare it to the whole Jordan Love, Aaron Rodgers, Brett Favre type of deal. But I don't know. I just feel like at Michael Penix's age at 24, I think you drafted him in top 10. I'm thinking you're trying to pay this guy. You want to play him for real. So, yeah, Geraldine Jenkins says RTR, Gerald. Jeff Stapleton says the Penix pick was a shock to Atlanta, LaShawn. LaShawn says some people, yeah. Jeff Stapleton says, yeah, we don't need QBs. We need DBs that can stop off and not let them run downfield. I mean, some smoke maybe you were hearing was the 49ers going to trade Brandon Ayuk, Deebo Samuel, but they went in and got another talented receiver, Ricky Parcell. Now, I don't know if I think you could have maybe got him in the second round, but listen, it was just a deep, I mentioned last week, this is just a deep receiving core class. So, LaShawn's still bitter about the Raiders losing out on Michael Penix Jr. So, yeah, so let's go back to the draft. We discussed the Kool-Aid McKinstry going 41 to the Saints. I think that's a very, very good job by the New Orleans Saints. I think they had quietly a really, really good draft. I think they addressed a lot of needs, in my opinion. So not only that, 16 picks, a couple picks after that, Chris Braswell gets drafted by the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Listen, I think that is a great, great, great fit. They love high edge rushers coming in that division. So Chris Braswell goes 57th. Then Jermaine Burton goes to the Cincinnati Bengals, which I think is probably one of the better fits for receivers. You look at Troy Franklin, the talented receiver coming out of Oregon. He's going to be with his old teammate, Bo Nix, in Denver with the Broncos. Look at Romeo Dozier teaming up with Caleb Williams up there in Chicago. But listen, Joe Burrow, they might lose T. Higgins. Listen, Jamar Chase, Jermaine Burton, I think that's a really, really good fit for Jermaine Burton going into Cincinnati Bengals. Let's see who else got drafted. And then Justin Aboigbe, he gets drafted 105th overall. He goes to the LA Chargers. Then Jace McClellan, I was wondering when he was going to come off. He goes to the Atlanta Falcons, which I think is a really, really, really good fit for him. Behind Bijan Robinson, now you get a lot of more young depth. Two really, really good runners. I think both of those guys really put on the shows. Chase, when they play Alabama, Texas, back in Austin, not two years ago, yeah. The first matchup, Jace had the big run by 80-some yards where he caught 50 on those Longhorns. So Jace goes to the Falcons, which I think is an amazing fit. Let's see. Will Riker, which was shocking. I was surprised he went so late. He's going to the Minnesota Vikings. So that's, another Bama guy up there in Minnesota. So skull to all the Vikings fans out there. And Jalen Keith rounded us out, Mr. Irrelevant, going to the New York Jets. So listen, Coach Saban had 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 guys drafted for his final draft class. Just shows you how the GOAT did it. He did an amazing, amazing job. Joe Edwards, yeah. J.C. Latham did go number 7. Sorry, excuse me. I mentioned he went 6. Yes, thank you for the correction. He did go number 7 to the Tennessee Titans. But yeah, so Saban's draft was crazy. But I just want to give Saban his flowers for a second. Saban's for his whole 17 years coaching Alabama, he produced 44 first rounders, 1 number 1 overall quarterback, 3 first round Heisman winners, 1 Mr. Irrelevant, and at least 1 player drafted at every position. I think that is second to none. Nobody will ever beat what Coach Saban did as far as development talent. Really doing well. And I mentioned earlier, Kalen DeBoer did not do too bad himself, having so many guys drafted from Washington. But before that, I want to get to this real quick. So let's get to a few more comments. Latu gets some playing time. He might, I don't know. But it'd be interesting to see. So let's get to this. Let's get to a few more conversations. Now, I want to discuss. Let me go to my notes real quick. Sorry. So I mentioned Latham, Turner, Falcons. Well, I don't know what the Buffalo Bills were doing. I mentioned Terrion Arnold. I mentioned Brad Holmes. Mentioned the first round guys. Now let's talk about next year Bama guys. And let's look at potential first rounders for next year. Now I've saw some mock drafts so far where it's showing maybe possibly Jalen Milroe going in the first round, as well as Tyler Booker going in the first round. So right now it's only showing that 2 Alabama guys going in the first round. But I think you can slide in other guys such as Jaden Roberts. I think Jaden Roberts would be one of the top interior guard guys coming off the board. I believe Tyler Booker will be a really good fit for somebody. Another tackle. I think he's going to do amazing this year. So I think Alabama hopefully can have about 3 guys next year. And don't sleep on guys like Jahad Campbell, that kind of help bolster, guys coming off the board in the first round. So we discussed next year's Bama draft. So let's get to a few comments real quick. I believe Joe Saban is talking about the rumors of the 49ers possibly trading Ayuk and all those guys. But let's talk about, we discussed the teams that, kind of went well and kind of did good. And it was some teams that really threw me for a question mark, like the Buffalo Bills. The Buffalo Bills threw me for a question mark. The Atlanta Falcons threw me for a question mark. But the outside of that, those were like the only 2 teams that kind of threw me for a question mark. Now, again, addressing this draft, saw a unique tweet with Will Anderson. After Dallas Turner got drafted, they do the quick media, but then they go to these rooms as a surprise. And, one room they get to listen to a message from like their parents, siblings, grandparents, whatever. But then he went to another room where it's like, it came full circle for him because Will Anderson, who was the NFL Defensive Rookie of the Year, was speaking to him. And last year, he was speaking to Will Anderson when Will Anderson was celebrating getting drafted number 3 overall to the Houston Texans. Shouts out to D'Amico Ryans. But yeah, it was just a very great night. But I want to discuss Bama on Bama crime and so much Bama in the NFL. And I mentioned Bama on Bama crime. I'm talking on the football field. Now, we know J.C. Latham is going number 7 to the Tennessee Titans. That means he's going to have to go against Will Anderson twice a year. He's going to have to go up against Christian Harris twice a year. He's going to have to go against Henry Totu, go against D'Amico Ryans twice a year, as well as with Calvin Ridley. So that's going to be another Bama on Bama crime. Then you look at the NFC South division itself. I mean, you got Bryce Young with the Carolina Panthers, going up against Kool-Aid McKinstry for the New Orleans Saints. I think that's going to be a good battle twice a year. You got Jace playing the Saints twice a year. You got Jace playing Bryce Young twice a year. So it's going to be very, very unique. So, but Kool-Aid and Bryce, I think that's an understory that nobody's really talking about. You're looking at that secondary with Lattimore on one side and Kool-Aid on the other side, going against Bryce and the weapons that he has. That's going to be a good matchup as far as Bama on Bama crime. I mentioned JC going against Will Anderson and D'Amico Ryan as the head coach. But don't forget, not only but Chris Braswell, he's with the Tampa Bay Bucks. He's going to be trying to sack Bryce Young when the Panthers plays the Bucks twice a year. He's going to be trying to tackle Jason McClellan when the Falcons plays the Bucks twice a year. So that NFC South division, you got a ton of Bama guys, a lot of Bama on Bama crime. And then we go to the NFC North, where the Minnesota Vikings, you got Dallas Turner. He'll be playing against Jahmyr Gibbs twice a year. So it's going to be a lot of uniqueness. And then it's going to be a lot of uniqueness regarding just so many different Bama on Bama crime. But I'm excited. I think the Kool-Aid versus Bryce Young matchup is most intriguing to me. I just can't wait for that Kool-Aid Saints jersey to come out. I think that's going to be exciting. So I mentioned Bama on Bama crime. I mentioned Kalen DeBoer. Listen, I think we're in the right hands with Jamarcus Shepard as the receivers coach. We're able to get back to where we were, having really top first round guys going in the first round like no other. I think we're going to get back to that under Kalen DeBoer and Jamarcus Shepard's leadership, because he had two receivers going in top 37 picks. So we got to keep up. We can't let LSU be wide receiver you. We gotta step our numbers back up. You know, we got to step back up. And I think we're going to be set up for the future under leadership of Jamarcus Shepard. I think that was good for to see for young recruits, young players out there on the team or currently having aspirations to be a part of the Crimson Tide. So, I mentioned Will Anderson, Chris Braswell. So unique to see the whole Cheetah package guys. And the Cheetah package, you know, when Pete Golden was the defensive coordinator, the Cheetah package was where you had three rushers, three Cheetahs rushing at the quarterback. You had Will Anderson, Dallas Turner, and Chris Braswell. It's good to see all three of those guys get drafted and play defense. So that was really, really good to see. So let's pause right there. Let's get to a few more comments. There's waiting to see how Justin Campbell Miro. I don't know what he's talking about. He said, shouldn't be that hard. Carolina has no offensive lineman. If they get the offensive lines situated, I think they got a few pieces. I know they got Bryce, got Xavier Legette. They traded up number 32 to get him. I thought they were going to get Adonai Mitchell, but maybe Legette showed more. And, you know, a lot of these guys, if you perform at the Senior Bowl, shouts out to the Senior Bowl, Jim Nagy, what he does down there at Reach the Senior Bowl, that kind of stands out for a lot of coaches, being able to see guys real time on the field. So, but yeah. But hopefully Bryce gets some weapons. He definitely needs some offensive line help. It's going to be tough in that division, I say. I can't wait to see the Bryce Young Kool-Aid matchup. I think that's going to be good. Listen, Chris Braswell coming at Bryce Young twice a year. That's going to be interesting to see. The NFC South has a ton of Alabama versus Alabama crime in it. It's going to be very, very, very good competition to see how these guys, who gets the upper hand now that Chris Braswell can finally, you know, sack Bryce Young or Kool-Aid can really match up against Bryce Young and see how he can defend, maybe pick him off, or how Bryce can handle that secondary. It's going to be very interesting to see how those Bama guys compete in the division. Let's go to a few comments. Joseph Lozada says, have a question. Who's the greatest Alabama receiver and why is it Matt Caddell? Let's see. Why is it me? I don't know. I'm very humbled by the comment, but I was grateful to have the opportunity to play at the University of Alabama, make a few plays and get Alabama some wins. But listen, we were talking about Alabama wide receiver. Me personally, I mean, you look at the whole history of Alabama wide receivers, tight ends, going back to Ozzie Newsome, who's a tight end, but he had all the wide receiver records. Going back to guys I played with, DJ Hall, Tyrone Prothro, Keith Brown, all those type of guys, and then guys after me. Devontae Smith won a Heisman. Guys came before me. Freddie Millens is always high on my list. A.C. Carter. Who else? And don't forget the Deuce, David Palmer. Don't forget even the Saban guys. Amari Cooper, Judy, Waddle, Ruggs. Jameson Williams, the list goes on and on and on. Devontae Smith, I mentioned. Listen, it's a lot of guys that can go. But to me, the greatest receiver, golly, oh my gosh. For me, who had the complete package, and I'm very meticulous when it comes to this conversation. I know Devontae Smith won a Heisman. You can't help but put Devontae Smith because he won the Heisman. But for me, just overall, I think I'm going to have to go Amari Cooper. Amari Cooper was just, man, he was just unreal. He could do it all. Footwork, route running, hands, body control, explosiveness. To me, he was like, he had it all. And Devontae Smith is right there, too. And you got guys who my personal favorites, Freddie Millens, who I just remember when Freddie Millens was playing. He was just unreal. Yeah. Amari Cooper, man. Listen, shouts out to Jace Johnson, future Olympics. I'm trying to go out there where they're going to be. Jace Johnson, shouts out to you. Kudos to you guys. Future gold medalists, by the way. Team USA. USA, I say USC, no USC. Yeah, I'm definitely about Coop. Amari Cooper was just special, man. He did it all by himself. He was unreal. Coop always probably going to get the number 1 9. He can't leave out guys like Julio. Julio was just a freak of nature. I put Julio in that category, just like Megatron. Obviously Calvin Johnson, Larry Fitzgerald, those type of just freaks like Randy Moss in that category. But I'm just talking about overall for me, and Mark Coop was just so dynamic of a receiver. But that's such a hard conversation because you have so many different receivers you could put overall for the greatest receiver in Alabama. So, I mean, listen, you can go back to Ozzie Newsome. I mean, it's so many guys. I mentioned the Deuce, David Palmer. I mean, it's just so many guys. Prothro, Hall. I mean, the list goes on and on. Just able to say, see how good the targeted players are this year. Yeah. So, like I said, Kalen DeBoer, he had an amazing draft. Let's talk about the Eagles. I thought the Eagles did a really, really good job trying to solidify that secondary. They came second round and got Cooper DeJean with Quinyon Mitchell. Although I wanted Kool-Aid to go there, I thought the Eagles had a really, really good draft. Fly, Eagles fly. So, yeah, it's going to be very it'll be very interesting. So, let's get a comment right here. It says, question, man, Prothro wasn't hurt in the Florida game. Will he still be in the NFL? Possibly. Probably we could still be in the NFL. When I look at Tyrone Prothro, he reminds me kind of a Steve Smith, kind of that, a lower center of gravity guy, really explosive, physical plays beyond his size. But yeah, I wish Prothro. I think if Prothro hadn't got hurt, he easily probably could have been a finalist for the Heisman. I mean, the guy played running back, receiver, punt returner. He did it all. He had the amazing catch, the Southern Miss behind the back. Quick story about that. I saw him do that catch in practice, like fall camp leading up to that. So it was no surprise to us on the sideline when he made that type of catch. But yeah, Prothro would have been successful regardless. I just hate he got injured that Florida game. But Prothro was special, man. I'll give you another story. We played in the Alabama Mississippi All-Star high school game. I played with guys, LaRon McClain, Terrence Jones, Wallace Gilbert, Tyrone Prothro, Tim Castile, Eric Gray. All of us played in that game, and I'll never forget. I believe Prothro was our roommate. Us guys. We got our highlight tapes, and we're putting in. I said, "Oh, look at my highlight tape. Look at his highlight tape," and we kind of see who got the best highlight. I'll never forget. Prothro put his in. It was like, oh, so this guy played every position: quarterback, running back, receiver, DB. Like, he was doing it at all different types of positions. That's why I was like, oh yeah, Prothro's that guy. But yeah, shouts out to Prothro. He's doing big things now. I think he's still coaching at Jasper. But yeah, Prothro. I thought Prothro would easily be Heisman Trophy finalist that year if he hadn't got hurt. He would have got my vote. So for sure. So he says, do you think Prothro was targeted by Florida's defense? I don't know. I just hate going back to that play, to be honest, because it's just such a that was my guy, one of my best friends. So I don't know if it was targeted. It's just freak injury. It's just I don't even like thinking about it, to be honest. But yeah, Prothro, I'm gonna end on a better note. Prothro was that guy. Just hate he got injured. But I don't think Florida was targeting him. It's just a freak nature play, which I hate it for him. So I mentioned the Bama guys. I mentioned, listen, the Saints secondary is going to be crazy. I mentioned teams who I thought really did good. Eagles, the Chiefs. I mean, how do we let the Chiefs get away with this again? Pat Mahomes get Xavier Worthy. He got Mo Brown. He got Rasheed Bryce, the receiver, last year. He got Kelsey, and they got a really good tight end from TCU to go against, help with Kelsey. I'm like, how did the Chiefs keep getting away with it? And the Bills keep letting them trade up for them. I'm like, the Bills traded with the Chiefs to get Mahomes. Now the Bills can't get over the Chiefs hump. Now the Bills let the Chiefs trade up against Xavier Worthy. I'm like, what are y'all doing, man? Y'all need to collude and don't let the Chiefs get all this stuff. So let's talk about the draft. Just some things I saw. You saw the different videos. J.C. Latham. I thought J.C. Latham, when he came out getting drafted by the Tennessee Titans, picking up Roger Goodell, I thought that was a cool moment because report had came, Roger Goodell had like back surgery like 3 weeks ago, so he probably had the meds and stuff like that. And so for him to get picked up, I thought it was pretty cool. The reason I say Bama won tonight, obviously, because you had Saban, Bama players. It was one scene of the night where Coach Saban was talking about Alabama, talking about Alabama player get drafted. Chris Harris, the former Alabama linebacker, was making the pick for the Houston Texans, and they were talking. And Coach Saban was talking about Kool-Aid, who just got drafted by the New Orleans Saints. So I wouldn't be surprised. I know the New Orleans, Houston Texans, D'Amico was hoping Kool-Aid was going to fall to that 42nd pick, but New Orleans Saints, they knew he was a good player, so they had to trade up and get him, jump in front of Houston, and grab him because, you put Kool-Aid, if he goes to Houston under D'Amico Ryan's leadership with Derek Stingley on one side, Kool-Aid, that could be pretty nasty. But New Orleans Saints, they knew what they were doing. They were like, we got to go get Kool-Aid. So all in all, it was just great to see Alabama just, again, ruled the draft again. Even when Caleb DeBoer had so many draft picks in the first 2 rounds, the first 3 rounds. I think he had 7 and Saban had 6. So go to show you that we made the right pick. So some things that I thought was really good, seeing the players, interviews, video of them getting drafted. Kool-Aid was in tears. Dallas Turner just looked happy to get drafted. J.C. Latham, I said, iced out. Picking up Roger Goodell. Terry R. Arnold stole the show, in my opinion. Taking the mic and hyping up the crowd. But another thing I thought was really hidden, I told you, Keith O'Donnell, the head coach of the Minnesota Vikings, when the GM, I saw a video from the Vikings, when the GM said, listen, we're going to get Turner. He goes like, what? We're getting Turner? Really? He just couldn't believe it. He's just blown away that they're getting Dallas Turner. They're so excited. Love to see those behind the scenes, all access, kind of in the war draft room, how these guys have the conversations with their families, the raw emotion. I mean, it's nothing like it. So, but I want to say this one thing. I know we were discussing the transfer portal order earlier. John Siptic, I think he's one of the GM personnel for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They asked him, what made you really what was something that you really liked about Chris Braswell besides just off the field? I mean, he's on the field competitiveness. And he said, one thing they love about Chris Braswell, they say he never considered transferring from Alabama despite being behind Will Anderson and Dallas Turner. And he said that shows you what type of competitor that he has, what type of character, what type of competitive drive he has, or what type of confidence that he has in himself. And I think in the age of the NIL and transfer portal and guys want to just jump ship and not compete and try to get the bag somewhere else, it really shows you we got to appreciate the guys that really stick to it, grind it out, and have enough belief in themselves to not just go somewhere else or just jump ship when challenges come and storms come. We mentioned Ty Simpson last week, how he's saying he's staying. I mean, it's going to work out perfect for him because Milroe's going to leave after this year, and he can be able to slide right in and be another potential first-round draft pick, because I think he'll probably have another Mac Jones-esque type of career, be so dynamic that 1 year starting fully, he's going to be getting playing time this year and last year, that, he's going to have a Mac Jones type career. He'd be one of the top quarterbacks drafted. But I just got to say kudos to the guys in this age of portal, and everybody, wants everything to be easy or favor their odds and not having to compete. We got to celebrate the guys that stick through it, have some perseverance, have some stick to it, and have some oomph about them. And Chris Braswell, for an NFL GM to recognize that and say it in the press conference and recognize how he stayed competitive and not wanting to leave, to me, that shows you what they're actually looking at. And it shows me how the NFL is really looking at this transfer portal guys. I mean, you can't help but look at guys like Caleb Williams, who transferred from Oklahoma to USC to follow Lincoln Riley. Man, I get that, but it's conversations that coaches are going to want to know when you're drafting guys, having those interviews, you bringing them in for top 30 visits or going to the NFL Combine. You're going to have those conversations and say, tell me, what's the reason you left? Why did you leave? Were you afraid of competition? You're going to have those tough conversations with NFL personnel, so that can either help your stock or hurt your stock. But at the end of the day, it's the play on the field. So, I think that's something that, I wanted to bring up regarding, I want to celebrate Chris Braswell, a guy who stuck it out and didn't jump ship. He showed some perseverance, some grit, some toughness to go out there and perform and stick through it and persevere. And he was rewarded for it. So he's probably going to even have even better NFL career because he's so used to the competition. So just want to celebrate those type of guys in this age of transfer portal, NIL, where so many kids just want to jump in the portal. Oh, I had a bad practice, I'm jumping in the portal, or I'm taking my ball and go somewhere else. Like, no, you got to have that type of perseverance because it's going to pay off, and that's how life is, So, sorry to get on on my little soapbox. So let's see. Let's go to a few comments. Joe Edwards says, didn't all the Auburn players get drafted in round 7? Laugh out loud. Yeah, which is shocking. I was surprised to see some other SEC schools. I think Ole Miss didn't have a player drafted till later as well. And I think Yale had a player drafted before Auburn got. So I don't know. I don't know what's going on down there, but it's all about the Crimson Tide. You know how we roll down here. It's all about Bama. Jeff Stapleton says it's like making the rich get richer. The Chiefs, Xavier Worthy, GM extended Travis Kelce contract. I mean, listen, I don't know why the Bills keep letting the Chiefs get away with this. I'm like, why would you trade back knowing you need a receiver? You just traded Stephon Diggs to the Houston Texans. Josh Allen truly doesn't have a true number one. Now, granted, you got Keon Coleman, couple picks down, but Xavier Worthy, you're going to let, not only you don't get him, but you let him go to the Chiefs with Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes. I mean, them cats going right back to the Super Bowl. And they got a really good tight end, Wiley from TCU. I mean, and then they got offensive line protection. So, I don't know, man. I don't know how you let the Chiefs keep getting away with this. Rob Rutherford says, amen. It's a great question. He says, if they had NIL when you play, what product or company would you want to represent? I think I would want to represent, let's see, maybe like a Gatorade. Hopefully I get something big. Everybody gets, something, maybe something, maybe like a Gatorade or a Coca-Cola. I want to be like the head man. I want to be like Coach Saban, Hopefully I get that Coca-Cola or Chick-fil-A. That would be even better. If I got an NIL deal from Chick-fil-A, that would be perfect. I would just have to work out and run every day. That way I don't put on the pounds. But yeah, that would be pretty cool to have an NIL deal like a Chick-fil-A, Gatorade. Let's see, what else? What else? What would be my dream NIL? That's a great question. I haven't thought about that. But listen, I would want to have NIL to, obviously have money, but at the end of the day, I would love to do something for the community, for the young kids, less fortunate, be able to give back to the community. I believe that's what I will make sure I, use my NIL money for good and not just have it for me. So, try to be a blessing to other people for sure. Great question, Bob Rutherford. I don't think anybody's ever asked me that question. LaShawn says the grass ain't always green on the other side. I mean, it's been, I'm going to get the study, the research on so many guys going into the portal and so many guys actually going to not so great situations where it hasn't worked out. We always highlight the guys that it works out. And I think that's probably less than 30%, less than 25%, probably right at. So you're looking at a quarter of it. So listen, we got to talk. We're going to discuss. I'm going to do some more research and look into the overall success rates of the transfer portal for these guys. So great comment, Lushan. Grass is not always green on the side. Jay Johnson says, early offensive rookie of the year, defensive rookie of the year. Ooh, great question. Okay, so early offensive rookie of the year, I'm gonna say obviously I'm putting my biggest odds with Caleb Williams just because he went number one. But then the situation he got Romeo Duzier, he got Keenan Allen as a receiver, and he has DJ Moore as a receiver. So I think, only thing he's got the weapons. Hopefully the playbook works out for him. The terminology, he has offensive line protection, he has a running game. That's going to be a tough division, the NFC North division. Told you, Detroit's going to be tough. So Caleb Williams, obviously. Bo Nix, Denver, possibly. I don't know. I don't know about JJ McCarthy in that situation. He could easily be there. Michael Penix, I think he's going to be behind Kirk Cousins. Jane Daniels, I like Jane Daniels. I think the situation he's going into with the Washington Commanders, they got a running game. They got some weapons around him. They got a pretty good defense. So my top two offensive rookie of the years will probably be obviously Caleb Williams, but I'll probably give Jane Daniels a little bit higher odds. But Caleb Williams has so many weapons. Keenan Allen, DJ Moore, and Romeo Duzier. That's like three number ones. I'll just hope they have an offensive playbook that can help them in the offensive line. I right now leave them those two. I give you a wild card. Let's see, a wild card offensive rookie of the year. Ooh, I might go with Xavier Worthy, maybe. Just because he's going to be with the Chiefs, but they have a lot to do, so it'll be interesting to see. Now, defensive rookie of the year, I'm going to say Dallas Turner for sure. I think he's going to come in and be able to wreak havoc. I think he's going to have potential to be defensive rookie of the year. Coming in for the Minnesota Vikings. Terrion Arnold, he's going to be looking to make a lot of plays. Opposite side, you look at that secondary, Brian Branch, he's probably filling in for Sutton. So, those probably be my top two. Quinyon Mitchell with the Eagles, Cooper DeJean, who they picked up in the second round. He could be in there if he takes some punts back. So those are kind of my 4 or 5 guys for offensive, defensive rookie of the year. Oh man, I love this. Great comment. Lushawn says offense, Neighbors, and defense. Chris Braswell. I didn't think about Neighbors. Oh yeah, I did not think about Neighbors. Yeah, that's gonna be Listen, Malik Neighbors gonna be nasty, and Chris Braswell. He's gonna have a lot of opportunity with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers to come off the edge and wreak havoc in that division. A lot of Neighbors. Let me add Neighbors. A lot of Neighbors talk. Yeah, Malik Neighbors. Me personally, I thought he was the best receiver over Marvin Harrison. Better route running, more explosive. He might not have the measurables as a Marvin Harrison. I think Marvin Harrison a little bit taller, but Malik Neighbors is that guy. I gotta add Malik Neighbors. Thank you for that, guys. That's why I love the Sioux section. Y'all are amazing in the comment section. Just Ableton says that's why Proctor came back. Yeah, I'm quite sure that's the reason Caden Proctor came back. Him transferring, hopping in the portal to Iowa. He gets to Iowa and he's like, nah, this is not for me. I'm coming back to the Tide. So like Lushawn said, the grass is not always greener on the other side. Lushawn said they're both better than that, but not talking about Marvin Harrison Jr. So listen, Malik Neighbors, Romeo Duzier could be a wild card, for what he's doing. But those are my picks. Thank you all for the show. Y'all did an amazing job. Shouts out to Lushawn, Jace Johnson, Joe Stapleton, Bob Rutherford, Reese, Joseph Lazada, Joe Edwards, let's see, M. Davis, Douglas Caddell, Bobby Caddell, Gerald Jenkins. So many people, Velma Stuttermeyer. Thank you guys for tuning in. Hey, let's tune in next week. We'll discuss more football, discuss more about this portal, discuss more about the draft. I think some OTAs and mini camps will be starting. But thanks for tuning in tonight. Y'all have a blessed week and see you the same time, same channel next week here at Football University. Real quick before we go, Jace Johnson says thoughts on the NCAA football video game. It's going to be exciting. I think it comes out in July. And before we go, Reggie Bush got his Heisman back. I think that's something we need to discuss. I mean, shouts out to Reggie Bush because, listen, I think that kind of got overshadowed by the draft news because everybody's talking about the draft. But Reggie Bush, listen, it's a great – happy for Reggie Bush. But that NCAA football game has been a long time ago. I think it's been like 10, 12 years. So, listen, just like the NCAA football games coming back, come back to my show next Monday, same time, same channel, here on the CTS Sports Room. Have a blessed week. Enjoy football. Love you all. Peace.